Welcome back, my friends. Back with another episode on the 1% Club and also the Vigor Warriors channel, Vigor Warriors 2 channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Our purpose, obviously, is to get higher than the 1% Club. We want to kind of focus on getting a lot more subscriptions, a lot more people involved, and kind of move this up to 2% Club, 3% Club, 4% Club. The idea, guys, is that you want to get back to the basics. And I think we've lost a lot of that in our society over the last 60, 70 years. And we need to kind of get back to basics and realize that your basic nature is to keep your energy inside of you and to use it for purposes of good and use it to help people while also maintaining a lot of abundance in your life. And so we talk about this. I'm going to kind of focus the next few videos on the law of compensation. I have over the years listened to a lot of people like Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor, which I'll show a couple of his ideas and things that he's doing. And I think it's important to recognize a lot of people out there who have learned the secrets of trying to be healthy, have strength physically, mentally, spiritually, also be successful. And those type of things come from more of practical experiences. And so one of the things that I saw with Bob Proctor talked about the fact that you have to have focus. And the same thing Napoleon Hill said is you got to have focus. One of the benefits of retention is focus. So let's kind of do this when we're going to focus on an exercise for focus. And so we're going to use the idea of focus to kind of get you into thinking about what you want and what you need to accomplish in your life. And so as we look at this, once again, subscribe, like, comment, and we'll kind of focus on focusing and do it this way. So as we look at this idea, the idea of focusing really talks about that you need to kind of use all of your energy towards one goal, one idea. And the idea is that you can achieve that. You don't know how you're going to achieve it. You're not sure how it's going to happen. But if you put this in your mind and you keep focusing on this, eventually you're going to find ways to accomplish it. I can give you a bunch of different examples of things like that. When I was younger, I started one of my first comic book collections from my dad. And there was a lot of books that I couldn't afford and things I really wanted, past issues of back in those days was Marvel back and Spider-Man and things like that. And I could not afford them. I never thought, and I was probably in my teenage years, maybe 12, 13 years old. I figured, well, I was never going to have enough money to be able to get all these books, these type of books, right? And so over the years, now I've had 3 different collections. I've kind of sold collections and bought collections. And so over the years, things have changed because I've obviously made enough money to be able to afford those type of things. And so my first notion at first that I couldn't do it really created a barrier within me. And as time went on, I had that goal of trying to, not only because I like reading the books and I grew up as a kid liking them, I also saw them as a huge investment, and it did help pay for part of my college. It paid for that was the first set of books that I had, and I had all the Marvel books and Spider-Man back in and they're worth a good amount of money. And so I sold them all, and I was able to get through it in college. And then I also had a second level of books, and I got my kids through school. And now I'm focusing on a third set, but I'm basically kind of doing that just to kind of leave it to my kids and to enjoy the books once again that I grew up with. And so I always like doing that. And so, but the idea is that you're focusing on a goal. And so I think this is really important. I focused on several goals over the years to finish my PhD. My EDD. I finished my EDD, educational doctorate, and I did that. And I didn't think I could ever do that. It took me 10 years, but I kept that going into it, and then focusing on that as well. And then also kind of looking at other types of goals of making money and things like that as well. So those type of things really are things that you have to kind of look at and saying, what can you use focus with, okay? So let's kind of look at this a little bit. When we talk about focus, how do you get focus? So it's easy to be distracted. In our society, our biggest issue is distractions, especially with media, social media, phones, things like that. Heck, I almost lost track of myself for a second here because I got a message on my phone while I'm talking. So it's a good example of how you can kind of lose your focus. But you got to have laser focus. You can accomplish everything you need to accomplish, money-wise, every goal you have, if you have laser focus, okay? And that's the goal, creating laser focus to be able to get the things you want. Now, how does that work? Well, once again, remember, if you're sitting there watching, images on a screen, you're just kind of wasting your energy away, and you're wasting your focus away, because that focus then is concentrating on those things that are fantasy. They're not real. And yes, you may eventually get those type of things, but you don't really want those type of things, right? You don't really want to have those things because you're going to release energy. And in the long run, it's a fantasy. It's not something real. And this is why we go to the movies. This is why we watch internet, all that kind of stuff. But you really realize it's fantasy, not something you want. But your mind is going to keep playing tricks on you because basically you're kind of focusing in on these images and things like that, and they're not really real. They're not something that you really want as a goal. What you need to do, and it's nothing wrong with having entertainment once in a while, but what you really want to do is have laser focus on the things you want. And the things you want come from your desires, and the desire and faith in that lead to you using your brain to basically say, I'm going to focus on this thing. So let me give an example. And this is an exercise you can actually do and use. If I'm saying to you, okay, what is the problem you're having with something, and it's a matter of focusing, then you're sitting there and saying, okay, how about putting a black dot on a wall? Look at that black dot, okay? Even though you may have distractions around you, always go back to that black dot. Most people in the society now can look at that black dot 4 or 5 seconds, and that's about it. Then they lose the focus. That's why doing these kind of videos for 10, 15 minutes is not always easy, because you tend to lose focus a little bit, right? But the idea then is basically saying, okay, I'm going to keep focusing on that black dot. That black dot could represent a number of things. You could say, I'm going to make $1 million by January 1st, 2022. Now, that's going to be your focus. Continue to focus. Now, why psychologically is that something that can help you? Well, what happens with our focus is that we look and focus on things that we spend our time with. So if you're spending your time with images and you're spending your time with porn, that's what's going to consume you and your focus. You got to focus on something. And if you're focusing on all those type of things, then you're just itching to destroy yourself. You're itching to lose energy. You're itching to kind of focus on the wrong things. If now, however, that you're focusing on something that's positive, and you're going to go ahead and say, okay, I want to accomplish this goal, then all of a sudden your mind switches from all these other things that are happening and focusing more on the idea that I want to make $1 million. And now things will happen. Now, I can't tell you how you're going to do it, but I could tell you that you will do it. It's just a matter of when, not if. And the same thing happened. And this is something that Edison used in creating the light bulb and inventions. He knew he was going to create it. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And if you have laser focus, this is where people become really successful. If you don't have laser focus, then you're going to keep getting distracted all the time. And this is the distraction I'm talking about. Whether it's the vampires, the succubuses, whether it's porn, whether it's imaging, whether it's gambling, all these things get away from the actual focus. Now, if your focus is to make money, you can do it a number of ways. And I'm not saying gambling is not a way that some people can make money. However, if you look at the positive negative, your mind eventually, if you focus on it long enough, is going to tell you, is this something you should be doing? And obviously all these other types of things like drinking and overeating and things like this is things that are not going to help you keep on your goal. And I think that's the key to focus. All the distractions around you, like for instance, I'm continuing to work on this video even though I have cars running around, people running around with me, I'm outside of an Aldi, and a lot of things could be happening, but I'm trying to stay focused on what I'm doing. And it's not easy. With all the things going on in our society, of all the things going around us, it's very difficult to keep focused. But remember that idea, the exercise of the black dot. I remember a story that Bob Proctor talked about with this. He had a friend who was a golfer, and the golfer, was on a pro tour and didn't do too well, in a certain, he didn't make the cut for a certain golf tournament. So he called Bob Proctor, and Bob went out there and talked to him, and Bob states his story and basically saying that one of the things he did and said, well, how can you improve your game? The golfer asked Bob, and Bob said, by focusing. And he gave him this exercise that I'm kind of showing you with the black dot. So use a black dot, just put it on the wall, and just kind of focus on that black dot for a little bit. See if you can do it for 4 or 5 minutes. It's probably one of the hardest things you're going to be able to do because you're so distracted by everything going around you. This is why meditation and prayer needs to be done in quiet, so you can kind of concentrate on what you're doing and not refocus and get distracted and focus on a lot of other things. This is why we don't accomplish a lot of things, my friends, and this is why we get tempted, why we go into bad habits, because we're concentrating on the wrong things and we get distracted and focus on those instead of the right things. So, and instead of then a black dot, once you're able to do that, then start putting your goals in there. All right, I want to get a six pack of abs by a certain time, by November or December of 2021, right? Or I want to go ahead and make $50,000 by February of 2022. Or I want to finish my degree. Some of your younger people are working on your degree still. So those type of things. Or I want to get married by a certain point, right? Or I want to find a girlfriend. All these things still work no matter what you're focusing on. And certainly that would be the goal to me. You want to continue to keep retaining for a certain period of time, right? Your goal to do that. All these things, guys, really go back to the idea of focusing. And the people who are successful on this journey are the people who focus on the right things to get them to the goals and not the wrong things to get them away and distracted, and so they lose a lot of time and money and energy. All right, guys, until next time, battle on.